Follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard. We are live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. We are loaded today. Great show coming up over the next 3 hours, including Matt Youmans in 45 minutes, VSiN host. He has a chance to make a lot of money this weekend in one of the contests out here in town. He'll explain how when he pops on with us coming up at that time. Yesterday's 2 playoff games in college football, the best 2 playoff games we've ever had in a single year of this playoff, Paulie, because normally, as we pointed out yesterday, we get at least 1 blowout, if not 2. Did not happen. Both games were super dramatic and entertaining. I'm not going to call them both well played, but the game last night, late last night, that got over well beyond midnight on the East Coast, goes to Washington as they took out Texas 37-31 as that number came down throughout the day, but we'll call it like a 3.5-point dog in the game, won it outright. And call it disrespect, call it, people just not believing in this team, the 1-score wins that they've had the entire time. Mm-hmm. They're a really good football team, and they have a dude at quarterback who we've been talking about for 2 years on this show that we couldn't love anymore if we tried, Michael Penix. We'll get to that in a second. If Caleb DeBoer blew that game last night from a coaching standpoint, that is Packers-Seahawks NFC title game with Mike McCarthy bad. That's Falcons blowing a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl to the Patriots bad, and the only way that he would ever live that down would be to get Washington back to the playoff and not only win a playoff game, he'd have to win the national title. That's 37-31 after Texas did the right thing by kicking the field goal. Onside kick did not work. Washington recovered. Texas 44-yard line. Longhorns have 2 timeouts left. There's 1:06 to go on the clock. They had to punt with 50 seconds left. I'm losing my mind at home watching the game.
Yep.
Losing my mind. Why are you running the football? And eventually, your star running back, Dylan Johnson, gets hurt. The stoppage of the clock coming up here in a second as well. But also, you should have been kicking the ball back with maybe 10, 15 seconds to go on the clock, and that's it. That's the ball game.
Well, that's a bad rule, but yeah, you just have to take the knee. But also, it's why you have to take the knee, because why does the clock stop when Johnson gets hurt on offense? But the game was over. There's less than 15 seconds. How about throwing the ball on 3rd down, the previous drive in the red zone, and you don't make Texas take another timeout? That's another one. That was going to haunt him the rest of his coaching career and his life.
Yep.
If they blow that game. Not to mention, on the punt, you get the 15-yard penalty. Get away from the guy with the fair catch interference. So that happened. And then you come out and you have single coverage. I don't know why. And Texas gets the ball at the 28-yard line on the long pass down the sideline. Mm-hmm. That's another one. That just 4 stupid things there where if you just take a knee, worst case, Texas has to go probably 80, 85 yards with 15 seconds. Mm-hmm. Ridiculous. And it was, what you said earlier, though, it seems it's fitting and appropriate that the Pac-12 is going to win the national title with a team that's won 10 in a row, all wins fewer by 10 points, and now the Pac-12 is going to cease to exist and it's all over. And this is just incredible coaching job and what he's done with this program. And some people have the 100-to-1 tickets as well. I also could not believe that people in this space, and the East Coast bias is real, about, boy, this is the first, I haven't really seen much of Washington this year. This Penix is good. No wonder he couldn't win the Heisman.
Yeah, no kidding.
And no wonder why these guys can't win Heisman trophies, and the disrespect of this conference year in, year out. I couldn't believe that. People who supposedly cover the sport. Oh, boy, I haven't seen a lot of Penix this year. This guy's fantastic.
Yeah, we've only been talking about him on this show for 2 years after he played the game on Labor Day against Kent State last year. We're like, uh-oh, this guy is absolutely for real. And I watched him at Indiana as well. Something just clicked with this guy when he went to Washington, and he was good at Indiana on top of it, but not like this. And I know people were pointing out last night that maybe him getting hurt with the knee a few years back is the reason why it's made him a better quarterback, because he doesn't want to run so often. But, I mean, he's dropping bows on everybody. I mean, he's letting you know that as well. He has the best deep ball since Joe Burrow.
Jeff Blake?
Well, I mean, Burrow was unbelievable.
Jeff Blake really had some.
He had an incredible
in terms of the hang time, and that was
Warren Moon.
Yeah,
those pretty. Yeah, okay. So
he just got a howitzer for an arm too.
Every single pass, it doesn't matter if he's throwing a 15-yard out or like a 50-yard bomb. It's like a laser beam that has pinpoint dart-like accuracy. And for some reason, well, because probably they have so many talented wide receivers, at least one guy is going to be isolated one-on-one. His receivers are awesome. And they've been doing this for 2 years now. And you're right, great point. No wonder why that guy can't win the Heisman Trophy. Again, tell me a team anywhere else in the country that's going to be on a 14-0 with a record of that, playing for the national title, putting up his numbers. Would that ever happen to an SEC quarterback?
Never.
Never. Not Big Ten? Probably not a chance on earth.
And guess what? They can play the disrespect card one more time. 14-0, won the best conference in college football. All they do is win. It's hard to go undefeated, even ask Georgia. And here they are. They're underdogs again against Michigan, and they love it. 21 straight wins for Washington. It's been 2 years since they lost a game by more than one score. DeBoer in his coaching career is 104-11. Maybe the Chargers should hire this guy and not Harbaugh. But this is what a story, how Washington is in a position to do this again and maybe not do it for the first time since 91. But you're right. The kid from Gorman here, Las Vegas, Odunze.
Yeah.
I mean, how good is this guy? So, I mean, all this talk about Williams, May, Daniels, Harrison. How about these two guys? And I was unaware of this story too, but the Softy Mallard, the guy talk show host in Seattle, in the win against Arizona, he had a punctured lung and cracked ribs. His family had to drive him home back because he couldn't fly with the team. And in the next game, Odunze lit up Oregon for 2 touchdowns in the following game after what happened to him. I mean, this guy is just, I mean, it's unreal how good they are. And then here's Penix throwing for 400 yards in the win.
So I will tell you this. You brought that up. The other quarterbacks that are going to be eligible to come out in the first round of the draft. I've been looking at draft props for a long, long time for this upcoming April. And the reason why is because I love Penix so much, I wanted to take him number 1 overall at long odds. But then when you do some dive, a deep dive into this and what people are saying, teams are going to hold 2 things against him. And I would not recommend taking Michael Penix for the first overall pick in the draft. I love him. He might be better than all these guys. Doesn't matter. The reason why teams will hold his medical history against him, the injuries, and also his age. And those are going to be 2 things that are going to be just he can't help at this point, and he's probably not going to be able to overcome that for the number 1 pick in the draft.
But we want to take a guy number 1 who's 5'9", 5'10", and has to jump when he throws the ball?
Sure.
Okay, so everything you said, and it was been a horrific loss. It would have haunted DeBoer the rest of his career. How about what Texas did once they get inside the 15? What was the play on first down? What was that swing pass?
You got a minute to think about this here. On first and 10 from the 15-yard line, you throw a swing pass that goes out of bounds basically at the line of scrimmage.
Okay, and now you're throwing jump balls the rest of the other plays.
That's exactly right.
Low percentage. And a great job on 4th down by the Washington kid to just jump up and knock it away, too.
Get that out of here.
So that was, they almost blew it. And they did no business losing that game. But there's some questionable coaching decisions both there.
Here's the crazy thing. Now, Michigan has to be a favorite in this game. They opened up 3.5 last night. It's been bet up a little bit. I mean,
Why though?
Well, because if Texas was favored over them, Michigan has a higher power rating than Texas. So Michigan's probably going to come out, although you have to adjust Washington as well. I will say this for Washington.
Go
Dogs both times against Oregon. Sure. I was at both games.
10-point dog, right?
They maybe got lucky. They got lucky a little bit the first game at home.
I'll give you that.
The second game, Oregon was lucky to get back into the game. Yep. I thought Washington was clearly the right side as a 10-point dog. Won
20-3.
Yep. And then who was the better side last night? It was Washington, period, end of story.
Yep.
And they were, the whole time catching 4.5, 4, closed a little bit shorter than that last night. But the entire game last night, I'm watching, I'm like, this team's not going to lose. Until DeBoer almost blew it.
Right.
Until he almost gave the game away.
Right.
Lost his mind.
Right. Well, there was bad luck there. Silly rule. But I understand what you're saying.
The point is, they're better than Texas. That's not a fluke last night.
No.
They got the better quarterback, probably the better coach. They have better playmakers. They got a better offensive line, and yet somehow, some way, it's every single game. Yep. Hey, look at this monster dog again.
Well, both games. What got Texas back in the game? The fumbled punt.
Yeah.
It's to the point now.
He's running. I'll grab it.
Oh, terrible.
Like, what are you doing?
It's to the point now. I'm rushing 11, and I'm not even going to put a guy back there. I don't care. between the fumbles on the punt. Imagine if Michigan lost the game like that. Between the fumbled punts and there's a block in the back on every return anyways. The hell with it. I'm not even going to put a guy back there. It's not even worth it.
Yep.
So it's a great national title game. We're SEC free, and we also have, the physical Michigan team that sacked Bama 6 times and had 10 tackles for loss, and we're going to ground and smash mouth football against this Washington team that I'm going to sling it and throw for 400 yards on you, and here comes the aerial assault. Right. What are you going to do about it? It's a great matchup Monday.
Yeah. What is the Michigan game plan if somehow Washington's offensive line cannot allow Penix to get pressured? Like if they don't get the heat on.
Okay.
I'm saying
I think it's going to be quick passes.
Yeah.
Though.
If Michigan doesn't get heat on Penix.
I know he's taken a lot of heat, and I love the story. And Sean McDonough did a great job talking about it. He's living in his sister's basement, cement shop, pouring cement. But Washington fans have been all over Ryan Grubb at times this year. But I think he'll be ready, and there's a reason Saban wanted him, and I think he'll have something drawn up and ready to go and be creative and take this 6 days to get ready for it.
I'll go back to the conference title games for 1 second. Had Georgia not lost to Alabama, yesterday's Rose Bowl would have been Michigan and Washington. And we would have had Georgia, Texas in the Sugar Bowl last night.
Yeah.
So the Rose Bowl would have been already played between these two teams. Now we get it for the national title.
Good action. I don't know about the game ending at 1 o'clock on the East Coast.
Yeah.
We have to look at this, but 2 great games, and what a way to send it out. Now we go to a 12-team playoff.
Yeah, we'll get into the Rose Bowl from yesterday, Michigan and Alabama. And I was surprised to see this after the game last night. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
This week, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly, and you get the NBA League Pass for the rest of the season. Unbelievable deal. Download the app. Use promo code VSiN when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
All right, VSiN host Matt Youmans joins the program now. His show is called VSiN Tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific. He also writes up a lot of his best bets for the website, which is vsin.com. Matt, good to talk to you as always, man. I teased this before the break. You have a chance to make a lot of money this weekend out here in a contest. We always talk about Circa Survivor, but this is in Circa Millions. Can you explain to the audience the position that you're in going into Week 18?
Yeah, it's a pretty good position. Hopefully I don't blow it this week. But the Circa Millions quarterly contest pays out about $150,000 for first, and it's a pretty good pay scale. I've got 2 of the top 3 entries going into the final week, and the top entry is 17-2-1 against the spread the last 4 weeks. I think it went 4-1, 4-0-1, 5-0, and 4-1. I'd love to be able to do that one more time, but I got to tell you, with 2 of the top 3, I've got to implement a little strategy this week too. And I mean, Week 18 is always tricky anyway, but I'll probably talk with Frank Betty, Steve Fezzik, a couple guys like that this week, and see what the smart way is to do that in terms of strategy here with 2 of the top 3. And right now, I have no idea what 5 teams I might use. So there's a lot of it's a unique challenge Week 18 when you're handicapping these games.
How big is your lead?
Well, the first entry is only a half point ahead of second place.
Oh.
And then I think I've got 17.5. Second place is 17. And then my third place entry has 16.5.
You're 17-2-1, and you have a half game lead. Oh, yeah. My God. Yeah. Incredible.
Now, Matt, have you had a good season overall in the contest, or are you getting hot when it matters most here in one of the quarterlies?
I was just having a mediocre season. I was about 10 games over 500, I think, going into this stretch. And, you know, a lot of handicappers say this, and I hate to say it, but I was having a lot of crappy luck, let's put it that way, in September, October, November. And then, you know, when you put together a streak like this, you catch a few breaks late in games, and things start to go your way. So my luck has turned a little bit here in the last few weeks.
Yeah. Well, you know what? There is something to this, though, right? I mean, I talk about this all the time. You have to have the coin flip games go your direction, because how many games in the NFL are really like Baltimore and Miami, where if you have a bet on Baltimore, the game's over with, I mean, right away, and it's no sweat whatsoever. So many of these games come down, as we all know, to the final, 10 minutes of the fourth quarter.
Oh, yeah. And you're sweating these things out, right? Sweating bullets in a lot of these games. How many times do you have 5 plays in the NFL? Let's say you got 3 in the early games, and it looks like you're going to go 3-0. And 15 minutes later, you're thinking you're going to be 0-3, and then you're going to be 1-2, and then 2. It's just it's crazy how it changes. I did have the Ravens. I was a rocking chair winner, but I had a dead loser with the Panthers, and the other 3 games. Well, two of the other 3 were coin flips that I won, and then the third game was the Packers, which was an easy winner. But, yeah, you're right. You got so many coin flip results, and you just have to have those go your way.
Your alias is Johnny Utah?
Yeah, you know who Johnny Utah was,
yeah,
right?
absolutely. We talked about it, Point Break. It's a great movie. I didn't know you liked that movie. It's unbelievable. Love that movie. Johnny Utah, former Ohio State quarterback, blew his knee out in the Rose Bowl, became an FBI agent. That's right. Absolutely.
Matt, I watched the movie 6 weeks ago. It's 30-plus years old. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, it holds up.
Yeah.
Swayze's awesome. Yes.
That's great. Yeah, that is. Okay, so not necessarily you're going to go with these games, but 2 games you wanted to talk about, and I think they're intriguing, and we'll get Glenn Clark on coming up to get the Ravens' perspective. Let's start Saturday with the Steelers. They could make the playoffs, believe it or not, and Rudolph gets the start again. Ravens locked up the 1 seed, Pittsburgh laying 4 on the road.
Yeah, Rudolph played pretty well in the win at Seattle. I think the Steelers' rushing attack was a big difference in that game. They had over 200 yards rushing. Najee Harris had a big game, but you go from Seattle to Baltimore, and is this number a little bit of an overreaction with the Steelers favored by 4? Now, Lamar Jackson's probably not going to play. John Harbaugh basically said he's not going to play, but it's a 19-day break. If he doesn't play in this game until the Ravens would play again, that's a lot, and that backfired on the Ravens the last time they went to the playoffs and set everybody out. But even if the Ravens sit out Jackson, I still don't think this is the type of team that's going to roll over and play dead. Tyler Huntley has been in big games before as a quarterback, and I'm leaning towards taking the Ravens in the 4 here, but this is something I got to evaluate later in the week as well.
Okay, now this is not a sexy game, but it's still, they all count. Could be Belichick's final game. Patriots have beat the Jets 15 in a row. They're laying 2.5. Look at the total. The total's 30.5 here.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be tough for me not to play the Patriots here. And what we think is going to be Belichick's final game as coach in New England. And what you just said, the Patriots beat the Jets 15 straight. And there's not many redeeming qualities about this Jets team at the current time. And I know the Patriots had a turnover-plagued, loss of Buffalo, but they still, I thought, played hard. You can still see the efforts there. And if you're laying 2.5, I think the Patriots are going to be hard for me to resist this week. But that's just another situation I'm going to have to monitor this week.
Okay, so now what do you make of the number here? The opener was 3.5 at Circa, 4.5 at DraftKings for the national title game next Monday. Michigan favored over Washington. Now up to 5 in some spots. Are you leaning Washington? What do you make of it next Monday?
Wes Reynolds and I were talking about this on the show last night. We were guessing the line was going to be around 5.5 or 6 if it was Washington against Michigan. And I thought the Washington offensive line held up really well last night against the Texas defensive front, gave Michael Penix a lot of time to throw. How sharp was Penix last night? Yeah. If he plays like that again, I think the Huskies are going to be tough to beat. But at the same time, I can't believe how brain-dead Kalen DeBoer, the coach, was at the end of the game last night by not taking knees and running the clock down. Instead, he runs a play. His star running back, Dylan Johnson, takes an injury. Just an unfortunate situation that backfired. So is Johnson going to be able to play next week? We don't know. I'm leaning towards taking the points with Washington, but, we got plenty of time here. I'm not going to bet this yet. This number might end up going to 6.
Sure. I couldn't believe what I was watching either. I mean, that was one of
right.
– I mean, if they lose that game, it's an all-time gaffe. I'm sorry. It is. You can throw any game at me, and that's as bad as any of them.
Yep. I mean, that would have been an epic disaster if Washington lost. There's no way you can lose that game. Texas would have taken the ball over, had to go about 90 yards in less than 20 seconds. Yep. What are you doing running plays like that?
Awful. A couple of college basketball bets that you like tonight. There's a really good game, Mountain West Conference, right? Totally under the radar. Both teams are 12-1. A little bit of money coming in overnight on Colorado State as they're a small favorite against New Mexico. Do you agree with that money?
Yeah, at Circa right now, Colorado State's -3, and I like the Rams a little bit here. I don't love this play, but I like it. The Lobos have not been that sharp on the road. They had a close call at New Mexico State recently, and the Aggies are a bad team right now. So on the road, New Mexico has not been as strong. Now, I love their two guards, talking about Jamal Mashburn Jr. and Jalen House, but Colorado State counters with Isaiah Stevens, a senior guard, who's one of the best players, if not the best, in the Mountain West Conference. And that's a strong home court in Fort Collins at altitude. They also got the better coach here with Nico Medved. So I'm going to lay that short number with Colorado State.
Mm-hmm. You went to Purdue. You like betting Big Ten basketball. You have a good feel for this team. You've had a good feel over the years as well. They're laying 5.5 tonight on the road against Maryland. Terps are 9-4 on the year. Purdue only has one loss. Tricky spot tonight, you think, for your alma mater?
It's definitely a tricky spot. You know, when you're going to see a lot of these top 10 teams in true road games start to fall here a little bit. We've seen it with UConn and Marquette in the Big East. Now Purdue goes to play Maryland, which has won 19 straight home games, did not lose a home game in Big Ten play last season. And I think Maryland's going to be a tough out here. Jameer Young sat out the last game with an injury, but I expect him to play. He scored 37 points against UCLA on the road on December 22nd. So I think Young's going to be back. You know, this number opened at 7.5, which I thought was high. I was able to get 6.5. I'd still play it here at plus 5.5. I think this is the type of game that goes to the wire. Purdue has won 5 really impressive neutral court games, but has yet to win a true road game. So I think this is going to be a challenge here tonight. I would take the points with the Terrapins as dogs.
We're rooting for you.
Yeah.
Tweet out your plays. And again, the alias is Johnny Utah. Give me 2, Utah. 2. So cash both entries. Get it done, sir. Thank you.
Let's hope so. You bet. Thanks,
Well
guys.
done. We did the show together on Christmas. You were out. He is the genuine article. Right after the show, right to Denny's.
Denny's, downtown here.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He goes to Denny's. He knows what's open on Christmas, what's closed, everything.
Oh,
yeah.
he,
did you see my sweater that day?
I did see it take off. Yeah. Was that the
Hans Gruber?
Hans Gruber.
Christmas
it's
doesn't
not Christmas,
start. Not Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza, and on the back it says Yippee Ki-Yay. Can I do that? Can I wear that on like a Tuesday in June?
Probably. Give it a shot. Yeah.
Like my dad. This is my costume. Yeah. He would wear it on like in August, half in the bag.
For Halloween.
Yeah, right.
Does it say?
Halloween.
Does it say? Like the censored version of Die Hard? Does it say Yippee Ki-Yay, Mr. Falcon on the back?
I think it says MF. Get that right.
Rest assured, if Matt wins like the quarterly, he'll probably buy shots of Fire Jack for everybody at Oasis here in town.
How about he's 17-2-1? He's got a half game lead.
That's and the other
1,000 monkeys in a room.
There you go.
Oh God.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Get our New Year's special, VSiN Pro Access. Everything we do through May 1st, only $79. Unlimited access to the daily best bets, exclusive betting splits, premium analysis, 24/7 video, and all the betting guides. Don't miss out. Special New Year offer, VSiN.com/subscribe, VSiN.com/subscribe.
Little Week 18 action here. Ravens, Steelers. Pittsburgh a 4-point favorite. Glenn Clark joins the program now. He covers the Baltimore Ravens for PressBox Online and 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore. As always, Glenn, thanks for the time today. And when we were doing team previews back in the summertime, you came on, you talked about the Ravens to us, and you found a great prop bet on DraftKings. They had a huge menu, and it was for any player. You didn't know which guy it was going to be, but it was labeled, will any player for the Ravens score at least 10 touchdowns? And here you go. Gus Edwards now has 13 on the season. Great call by you.
Thank you. I was hoping that I could end up doing my victory lap on that one besides cashing the ticket. Yeah, I actually thought it was going to be Mark Andrews. That was the number that I really liked there. But there are a few things in life more reliable than Gus Edwards in goal-to-go situations. He has been outstanding. 13 touchdowns. That was a big winner for me. And so I guess the only thing more reliable is if your kids are home from school for a week, then you're going to end up losing your voice. So I apologize, boys. Mitch Paul, I always appreciate it, man.
By the way, before we get into this game, isn't that the beauty of the organization? You thought it was going to be Mark Andrews. Well, he goes down a while back with a season-ending injury. Well, who's up next? It's Isaiah Likely, who I called in a full season might be a top 5 tight end in the entire league. You didn't know if it was going to be J.K. Dobbins. He goes down. Well, then it was Gus Edwards, but then they drafted a guy named Keaton Mitchell, who was awesome. Like this team just does an awesome. It must be a combination of both, right? Finding those hidden gems, but also developing them and playing the right system.
I would argue that development has been the thing the last few years that had been a question mark for the Ravens. I think this last, you think about, there was a dip in drafting in Ozzie Newsome's late year before Lamar Jackson. There was a dip in drafting where they were taking guys like Matt Elam and Terrence Brooks and Arthur Brown, names you'd never remember in early rounds. What's happened the last few years and the way they have bounced back from that is truly, as much as Lamar is the story, and let's not, he's the obvious MVP. You couldn't cash a ticket for somebody else for even a penny at this point. Lamar is the story. But besides Lamar, Kyle Hamilton is one of the best stories in all of football. And even though he wasn't on the field on Sunday, he should be in the conversation. He's not going to win it. I get it. Myles Garrett's going to win, but he should be in the conversation of Defensive Player of the Year. Double-digit TFLs and pass breakups is nuts, right? Like, it just doesn't happen. So the development and the drafting in the last couple of years, Tyler Linderbaum in the first round as a center has been spectacular. They have completely changed the course, not just the presence of Lamar Jackson, but everything they've done around him has been dramatically better in the last 2 to 3 seasons.
Great team, unbelievable depth, no doubt about it. And we were just talking and singing the praises of Huntley. And they should have beat Cincinnati on the road last year, in the playoffs. So they're 4-point underdogs at home Sunday. How are they going to treat it? Who do you think plays?
I think it's an interesting. We were talking about this a little bit before. I feel like they owe it to Tyler Huntley. Is it looks like they're going to move on from Tyler Huntley at the end of the year. They brought in Malik Cunningham from the Patriots, and I think that was their way of indicating we're moving on from Tyler Huntley. We're not going to spend any money at backup quarterback. We're going to go this route with a guy that we think has a similar skill set as Lamar Jackson. So if that's the case, I feel like they kind of owe it to Tyler Huntley to let him go out there and play and show whatever he can show in a situation like this. And I think it's a big spot for him. It's actually kind of why I like the Ravens, even with the goofiness of Lamar Jackson likely not playing much at all on Saturday. But the Ravens also internally would say, hey, if something were to happen to Lamar in the first playoff game, Tyler Huntley's the guy that would play. We kind of wouldn't like to get him hurt either. So it wouldn't stun me if we see a few quarterbacks play on Saturday and it's not just a Tyler Huntley special. But I do think they want to let him get on the field and show something because it looks more like they're going to move on from him at the end of the season.
Okay, so it's very early in the week, obviously. But if you think Lamar, maybe you said likely doesn't, but if he does play at all in this game, what are you talking? A series, a quarter?
Yeah, a couple of series at most. I did think it was telling that on the broadcast this past Sunday, Charles Davis said that Lamar brought up during their pre-broadcast meeting that he felt a little bit rusty going into the playoffs in 2019 when they had been the number 1 seed. And so I do wonder if Lamar privately, and he wouldn't say this to us, but if privately he said to them, hey, I'd like to go through the motions this week. I'd like to continue to ramp up and prepare and get a little bit of time. And I think there's an incredible amount of trust. Everybody has brought up ad nauseum Lamar's injuries the last couple of seasons. He got hurt both the last couple of years as a passer, not as a runner. The trust that this organization has in Lamar Jackson to try to take care of himself in this spot, I think is very high. So if he said, hey, I want to go through this. I want to get on the field. I don't want to sit around and get cold for 2 weeks. He's playing some of the most brilliant football in all of, in modern history. I think that they would give him that opportunity to go out there. Now, if it is, to your point, it's a very small amount of time. It's 2 series, something like that. And it's largely him handing the ball off and getting away. But I do think that would be something they would defer to Lamar Jackson. If his choice was, I would prefer to be on the field, I think they would listen to that and let him have an opportunity to get out there.
Is there anything here potentially it's a division rival, the hated Steelers, and we don't want that team to make the playoffs?
I don't think in terms of who's going to play, but I absolutely think there's going to be something for that as far as the guys that are on the field. And it's funny because John Harbaugh brought this up again yesterday, and we all know this. This isn't the final preseason game, right? Like you don't have a 90-player roster to work with, and the Ravens have enough banged-up defensive players that aren't going to be active on Saturday. Kyle Hamilton, Marlon Humphrey, chief among them, Brandon Stevens, that they're not going to be able to just put whoever they want on the inactive list. They're going to have to play some of these guys. So the guys that are out there, the Rashad Batemans of the world who have played well, Isaiah Likely is going to play on Saturday. Those guys are going to be out there, and there is no doubt in my mind that if it's competitive, they're going to try to win. Look, if the Steelers were to get a 2-score lead, something like that, then I could see the Ravens kind of calling off the dogs. But the guys that are going to play on Saturday, they're going to want to be competitive. There's no doubt. And the fact that they lost to the Steelers earlier this year in one of the most bizarre games of the entire season, where the Ravens had, I believe, 9 drops in that game, and Lamar was the number 1 graded player according to Pro Football Focus, and yet lost in Pittsburgh. I think that the guys that are in the field are going to think about that. I expect the guys that are out there to want to be competitive and to want to give it a go as long as it's a close game. So yes, I think that there is something to it. I just don't think it's going to be the determining factor in who plays.
I remember the comments when the injury happened. If they go to the AFC title game or the Super Bowl, could they get Andrews back?
Yeah, it doesn't look like it at this point. Who knows? Maybe he's doing the Terrell Owens thing and sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber and, going crazy to try to get it back out there. But the sense that I got after the initial comments was the injury was a little bit worse than they first thought it was. And so they are not operating with the belief that Mark Andrews would be out there for the Super Bowl at this point. But to your point, look, Isaiah Likely it is insane. Isaiah Likely is a superstar, man.
Agreed.
There is a real chance next year that this is the best tight end duo that we've seen in football since, the duo that we don't talk about anymore that Rob Gronkowski had with him in New England, right?
Yeah, right.
This really is looking like it is going to be a special combination of players. Isaiah Likely showed us some things, but I don't think any of us saw this coming. This guy is a star.
There's a prop bet up here at Circa. 49ers, Ravens against the field. Who do you want?
My buddy Aaron Oster passed that along to me yesterday. It's juicy. Who in the NFC? The only other NFC team that you think has a chance is the Rams, right? That's the only other team that I would feel anything about there. There's a couple other teams in the AFC that you think something about. Obviously, the Bills. I don't know. I would probably be on the side of the 49ers and the Ravens in that prop. That's a really juicy prop that I feel like I would take a shot at.
Okay. Well, to follow that up then, take us inside the Ravens locker room here. The organization, the pecking order of teams that they don't want to see in the AFC playoffs would look like what?
Oh, boy, you got to talk about the Browns in that spot. There's just so much that, the fact that the Browns came into Baltimore earlier this year and ran the ball as well as they did. For everything the Ravens are good at, they do not have a great run defense. And you saw that early on with Devon Achane. Even as the Dolphins ended up getting blown out, he had a big game. They don't stop the run well. The Browns actually ran it down their throat in the second half. Now, some of that was the presence of Deshaun Watson, and they can't do the same things with Joe Flacco, but this is also still the ghost of Joe Flacco showing back up in Baltimore, and I don't know that that's a karma that you feel great about going into a playoff game. The Browns, the Bills are the two that I think jump out the most. I think everybody's scared of the Bills, and of course, the humor being they might not be in at all, right?
Yeah.
So I think those are the two teams that stand out the most.
Awesome perspective today. You can follow Glenn on X. He is at Glenn Clark Radio, 105.7 The Fan in Baltimore, and PressBox Online. Thanks so much, Glenn. We appreciate the time.
Mitch, Paul, I really appreciate you guys having me as always.
Yep, be good. Sir. There you go. Does a great job covering the team, and he's been on the show several times, and a great call by him on that prop before the season started as well. Will any Ravens player score at least 10 touchdowns? Whammo, there it is, with Gus Edwards cashing that ticket.
Good prop. $1.15.
Yep.
Niners, Ravens, or the field.
So we have some projected NFL playoff numbers from one of the leading odds makers in Las Vegas. What would you make the Rams at the Lions, Packers at the Cowboys? We'll share the numbers next here on VSiN.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Great deal at DraftKings. New customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets instantly with the NBA, and you get the league pass for the rest of the season. Download the app. Use promo code VSiN when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Brian Mahoney joins the program now. He has covered the NBA, the Knicks, and the Nets for a long time for the Associated Press. Longtime friend of the show. Brian, Happy New Year. Thanks for the time today. How are you?
Hey, good, guys. Happy New Year to you.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the trade that happened over the weekend with the Knicks and the Raptors. A couple of things here. What was your reaction when you saw the deal and the Knicks giving up Barrett and quickly for OG Anunoby, and you had a chance to watch him play in their first game? How do you think this is going to work for the Knicks for the rest of the year?
Well, watching him yesterday, I can see why they wanted Anunoby. He looked like he fit right in with them, the way he shoots from the outside. Great defensive player. But I also think they give up a lot to get him. Barrett's been a starter on a playoff team for a couple of years now. Quickly was a excellent sixth man for them. So I think it's one of those. Hey, you got to give up sometimes a lot to get a guy you really like, and I think that's what happened in this trade.
Does it also look weird though, because you could have moved Barrett and maybe got Mitchell, and then you didn't make that trade, and then you gave him more money, and then now you trade Barrett?
Well, yeah, the order maybe is a little bit confusing for people. One of the things people said is they wanted to get off Barrett's contract. Uh-huh. Well, it's not that long ago they gave him Barrett's contract.
Yeah, right.
So, it's these things kind of happen, and I think maybe they thought they could get in Anunoby at some point and just finally wanted to do it now. And again, it could be a very good move for them. It's possible the Knicks had sort of maxed out where they were going to be, but
sure.
Again, I think quickly he meant a lot to them. Barrett obviously meant a lot to them. So we'll see how it all works out for both sides.
Well, that wasn't a great fit though. While he's a good player, I don't think Quickly's going to get the touches and shots though, because it's all Brunson, right?
Well, that was part of the problem. Yeah, I think Toronto maybe looks at him as a starting kind of player. And Quickly played very well last year when Brunson was out. I remember he moved up the board on the six-man odds when he was playing very well when he started. So, I think he has potential to really do more than he was doing in New York. And Toronto is the kind of team right now with their roster that can give him a shot to do it.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because I was actually pondering in the last week a bet on Quickly to win Sixth Man of the Year. But now that he got traded to the Raptors, Brian, I mean, he's going to be a starter, I think, with Toronto, yeah?
Yeah, it looks like that. They're starting yesterday, and, obviously there's a spot open there when Van Vliet left. So, this is a chance for Quickly to take advantage of that. The Knicks were obviously a little bit unsure. They could have extended him in the summer. They didn't, so that kind of showed you maybe he was going to be traded. And he's got now the rest of the season to show that he's worth what the Knicks wouldn't pay him so far.
You made a good point about how they were stuck, because, you saw last year they won a playoff series, but you see how good Boston and Milwaukee are, and the Sixers are a force, and they might make a trade too. So you make this trade, and now is there another trade coming up? Do they try to get Mitchell? And then there's a lot going on here too, and I don't know if you want to put them in that category, but do they finally land a superstar? And who's going to be the first guy to jump and say, that's it, this is a top 5 team in the East, I'm going to the Garden and the Mecca?
Well, we've been waiting on that for a long time, and obviously so have the Knicks. They continue to hold on to some assets to make a trade doable for that kind of thing. It's just, you never know. Karl Anthony Towns' name has been thrown around for a long time in New York as speculation. Obviously, Minnesota now is having a great year. You're not thinking he's going to get traded. People thought when Harden left Philadelphia, maybe Joel Embiid would be available. That doesn't look like it's going to be the case. So it's always, the guys who you think are going to be available a lot of times are not the ones who do. So, at some point, the Knicks are going to get one of those guys, but I've been saying it for a long time. We all have, and it just hasn't quite happened yet.
Is it possible this trade also maybe unlocked Dante DiVincenzo maybe a little bit for the Knicks?
I think so. You can see the way they played yesterday, Mitch. A lot more maybe moving and cutting than they did with the previous roster they had. He's a guy who seemed to do well with it. He had a couple of nice backdoor moves. Found some guys on a similar type play. So, yeah, I think that's a situation now where maybe they will play a better style for the kind of pieces they have on this roster.
So the Raptors showed yesterday, Brian, they're unafraid to make a trade inside their own division. I know that there were some rumors out there around the beginning of the season that they might make a move with Siakam. Sixers might have some interest there, obviously. Well, I guess who wouldn't? Do you think the Raptors could make another move? And if so, could it be to a team like Philly in their own division?
Well, obviously he's coveted by a lot of people, and people, have his name out there a while. Now, I think at this point you want to give this team a little bit of time to see what they could do after the trade. But at the same time, I still wonder if maybe some of the pieces they have are still kind of redundant, and maybe another move has to be made. I'd imagine that's a team we're going to keep our eye on sort of through the rest of the year into the summer. But a player like that, I'd hate to move, on any circumstance. He showed again yesterday, the game he had, just how good he can be when things are right.
Do you think there's another big trade coming in the conference also as well? And we were talking about this before you came on, that something has to happen in Atlanta. I mean, this Murray Young thing, they've been outscored when they're on the floor together, and now they're 6 games under 500. Yeah,
I mean, no one really knows what the plan is in Atlanta. They should be better than they are. But I thought John Collins was a guy who I would have kept before, and obviously that wasn't their plan. And so I don't know exactly what the deal is there. But, the teams in the East, Paul, obviously, you have two great teams.
Yep.
And, everyone else has to figure out if it's worth making a move. Can we get there? Some of those teams, if a Miami made a move, sure, they're good enough then to beat Boston or Milwaukee. But I don't know how far below that some of those teams would even matter. So that's what they have to consider. Is it worth really, taking a home run swing? Can
Sure.
we hit a homer if we redo it?
No, great points. Do you think that, and I agree with you, and I think Philly's close to Milwaukee. Do you think there's a sizable gap between Boston and Milwaukee?
I think when Boston has everyone there, I do think they're probably a little bit ahead of everyone else. That's just an unbelievable starting five. It's an unbelievable home court advantage they have. Milwaukee, obviously, still, it's still early in the season with the trying to trade they made. Giannis and Dame will figure out how to play better together. Chris Middleton has gotten healthier. So Milwaukee will get better, but, we've seen them take a step back defensively. Indiana has kind of carved them up a couple times. So I don't know if they're as good as Boston if Boston has all their guys healthy.
And the team that Boston plays tonight, Brian, it's Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Brian Mahoney, our guest, he covers the NBA for the AP. I said if you haven't watched the NBA game yet this year, definitely check out a little bit of Boston OKC tonight. I love this OKC team. Their division is absolutely loaded. I mean, it's the Thunder, the T-Wolves, the Nuggets. Should be a great race. Where do you have OKC currently in the pecking order of the Western Conference?
Yeah, I can't wait to watch more of them as the season goes on. They're actually here in New York in a few days at Brooklyn, and obviously we have to take them seriously now. Mm-hmm. When the season started, I kind of thought, okay, they're a bunch of young guys playing hard, but obviously they have a superstar in Gilgeous-Alexander. Holmgren's been terrific. They have, I think, one of the best coaches in the NBA now. Look, and the teams they're beating, they shows how good they are. Like, they've taken to Denver a little bit. Like, it's not like they're just feasting on a bad schedule. So it's obviously now the season has gone on long enough that Oklahoma City is for real. And let's just see, what happens, come playoff time. But they're obviously really legit.
What did you think of the in-season tournament, and maybe what tweaks would you make moving forward?
Overall, it got a lot of attention. I think it was interesting and fun. If I could tweak it, I just would like them to extend it a little long. So it wasn't just basically all crammed into November, where if a guy got hurt, and missed 2 games, the team had no chance to win. If you could find a way to maybe make it space it out a little longer, so you could overcome an injury, things like that, maybe I'd like it a little better. I don't know if they could do that within the schedule, but I think it would improve it. It would give a couple more teams a chance to win it.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an early front runner for the MVP?
I would pick Luka, I think, if their record was better. Obviously, sitting almost at the bottom of the playoff race, I don't know if he'll get the support. Embiid, I think, is right where he was last year pretty much, so it's hard to really look elsewhere. But, if Dallas could find a way to get better, I think what Luka's done is pretty tremendous.
Very good, sir. Great to talk to you. Enjoy the Knicks. Thanks for a few minutes in that cloud of secrecy, what they have there.
Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it.
Thanks, there you go. Leon Rose makes the trade, and you can't get a word out for the guy. But listen, what Dolan's done here, they were crucified, right? We don't want Durant. We don't want Kyrie. We don't want a part of that. Worked out. Okay, give up all these picks and assets and go get Mitchell. No, we're good. And then you beat them in the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, now I come back. What happened with Barrett? You give them that money, and then you move them. But and now they make a big trade here, and I love it. They do add OG. So now is there another trade in the works, and what can they? But they're kind of in a tough spot though. But you have a chance, and that's the big question. When does the superstar go there? Now I'm not calling Mitchell a superstar, but I'm saying when are they going to get that big name stud player and they land them?
Two things I didn't like about the trade.
Okay,
I thought Quickly was really good for this team.
All right.
Now you have to give Anunoby how much money?
Yes, you do.
$250 million, whatever it is.
Yeah,
you have to.
I know.
In Pocket Plays coming up next year on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.